Okay. Right, so we'll take it to the mat. And as I said before, every week, there's no need to lie down. If lying down first thing in the morning is a problem, you can always sit down. And if you're lying down, again, you don't need to put your legs straight out. If that's a problem, you can keep your legs bent. So it's about comfort first thing in the morning. It's about just making sure that, you're in a good position, because this is where you're going to be aching is first thing in the morning, and it's when you're lie down on the floor. It's just normal to be feeling a little bit, tense and tight. So it's hard to resume the position of just complete relaxation that you might have had in bed. So big, deep breath in, filling up the lungs, really feeling the whole body just swell up with that inhale, and then that long, slow, even an audible sound like a sigh. Just let the sound even come out of your mouth, and that really helps to kind of echo and reverberate through the body, through the vagal nerve, and allows relaxation to occur. Big breath in, and a long, slow, sighing sound like exhale. All the way out. So keeping with those big inhale and exhales, you keep continuing those. And while you're doing that, we're just going to see how your body is. So without stopping the breath in any way or without holding the breath, we're going to check in with our whole body, starting from the top of our head and working our way down to our feet. So imagine you're on strings and you're just kind of lengthening the neck a little bit so that you're nice and long on your mat if you're lying down. Just check in with the shape of your face. Like, is your chin overly tucked in, or is your chin sticking right up to the ceiling? So we want our chin to be sort of tucked in slightly, so that if you can envision your spine at the back, you want it in a neutral position. You don't want it cranked in any way, up or down. So get yourself in a nice neutral spine position. And then we're just going to check in with our foreheads and see if we have ourselves all creased up there in tension. And we're going to start to just maybe lift the eyebrows, and then that automatically lifts the mouth, and instant relaxation occurs in the face. And then just relax down the face. And then check in with your jaw. Check your tongue and see if it's locked against your upper jaw. If it is, just gently remove the tongue from the upper palate and allow it to just loll in your lower jaw. Slightly create some space in the mouth by moving the jaw away from the upper jaw, and maybe even move from right to left. And relax. Breathing in that big deep breath and the long slow exhale out. And moving on to the full head itself, we're just going to move the head from side to side in tune and in time with your breath, so that you're not interfering with your breath in any way. A couple of times on each side, and then allow it to nestle back in the center. Feeling yourself, your back of your head being supported now by a little nook that you've created, a little niche, almost like a palm of the hand is holding the back of the head. Moving down our neck can be shortened by our shoulders being maybe hunched up. So we're going to move the shoulders in order to stretch the neck. So we're going to get the shoulders right up to the ears, and then roll them back, coming up onto your elbows, and then bringing the shoulder blades underneath to nestle the heart space, and then release the arms. And immediately the arms are going to want to move away from the body. And we're going to move our head from right to left again, still with the breath, and just seeing, do we have any sort of extra space that maybe we might have been holding our shoulders up to our ears unconsciously, and now we have a little bit more room. That may or may not happen, depending on if you're a person who holds their shoulders up high. And coming back into midline, and then down into our arms, shoulders and arms, and seeing how our arms are. Often we clench our fists, bracing ourselves against whatever might happen. So we're just going to release the fingers and maybe stretch them out Really stretching them out, or maybe stretching the whole arms out and away from the body, and then relax the arms back into the floor. This time we're going to do it in time with our breath. So on your next inhale, we're going to inhale and stretch our arms out and our fingers out wide, feeling the vertebrae and our back really in the floor because we've moved our shoulder blades out and away, and relax completely into the floor. On your exhale, we're going to move our hands to palm down and then our palm up. So if you see that your thumb is moving each side of your arm to touch the floor, palm up and palm down, you're suddenly on the top of your arm and then you're on the bottom of your forearm. So just a nice little gentle rotation there. And then relax in whatever way feels comfortable. Generally, it's the palm up. Staying with your nice big inhale and exhale, we're going to move down the body towards our hips. And just gently check in with your hips, that you might need a little squeeze on each side, on each buttock, just because it's hard to know sometimes if we are clenching or not clenching. And one way of knowing is by a deep, deep clench, by a squeeze, and then a release. So if you feel that you're the type of person who might be clenching a lot on the glutes, holding them deeply, then a clench and unclench in a normal working day is probably a very nice option for you. So that just to stop the hard glutes being pulled all the time, which can pull out of the back. So a little clench and unclench, rotate from one to the other and then relax. Little shimmy of the hips and allow yourself to completely relax into the mat. We're going to do the same with the legs that we did with the arms. So on your next inhale, we're going to move the toes wide and stretching the legs out as if you're really trying to reach to the bottom of the wall down to the bottom of the room, and then relax everything into the floor. On your exhale. Next inhale, we're going to do that again. We're going to stretch the toes out really wide, stretch the legs almost that they're nearly lifting, and then relax them completely into the floor on your exhale. And again, on your inhale and exhale, we're going to move our feet. Toes come inwards as if we are making sort of a, feet inwards, and then outwards in a sort of Charlie Chaplin W shape. So rotating from the hips, our legs, moving in and moving out. Breathing as you move along. And when you're ready, relax the whole body into the floor. Take a nice deep inhale here. And when you get to the top of the inhale, perhaps sip in a little bit more air. Just when you feel that you're full, sip in a little bit more. See if you can hold it for a couple of beats. And then allow the exhale to happen. You get to the end of the exhale, squeeze out a little bit more air. See if you can really contract those ribs in. Hold for a couple of beats. And then begin the whole process again, where you inhale all the way up, filling up the whole body. And then sipping in a little bit more, just on the very top when you feel you can't get in anymore. Hold for a couple of beats. And then a long, slow exhale out. Maybe a little bit of sound to a little bit of Ujjayi breath. Out through the nose with that little restriction, almost like you're fogging a mirror through your nose. Getting to the bottom of the exhale, see if you can squeeze out a little bit more. Hold for a few beats. And this time relax the whole body, just breathing unconsciously and allowing yourself a little Shavasana in a very relaxed state. Jaws nice and relaxed. Hips are nice and relaxed. Shoulders nice and relaxed. Feeling your whole body soften and ready to move into some movements from a very soft and open space. Allowing your breath to always be moving in and out without holding, and allowing yourself forgiveness if you do hold your breath, that you just remind yourself to again stop holding if you can and breathe in and out. And remember that when you start your movements, that breaths have to occur. And you don't have to go to the full length of your movements. Just see how you feel today and go with whatever suits. Allow a little kindness into your body. Listening to your body rather than expecting something. Listen to what's happening. Feel what's going on. See if it needs a little bit of kindness today. See if it needs a little bit of challenge today. So either way, you're listening to your body and you're not doing necessarily what I'm suggesting, but doing what's good for you as long as it's safe. So with that, we're going to bring our arms overhead and a big stretch as our fingers, your arms go in whatever direction overhead they feel comfortable in, and your toes pointing wherever way they feel comfortable, feeling the yawning stretch. And then exhale as your whole body softens into the mat. And your next inhale, stretching the right side body, right toes, right fingers. And exhale as you soften into the mat. Inhaling left side body. Inhale, reaching the toes away, the arms away, and soften into the mat. Cross body stretch this time. So maybe left toes, right fingers. Exhale, soften into the mat. Remembering the softening between each of the stretches. Right side, right toes and left fingers this time. And then exhale as you soften into the mat. Bring your arms down by your side. And we're going to bring our right foot in towards our chest. Bring your interlocked fingers around your shin. Foot is flexed. For a soft practice, maybe bend the opposite leg, foot on the floor if you feel that it's too much. If you want a little bit more of a sensation, you can have the leg out straight and flexed. Or if you want a deeper sensation, lift your foot an inch off the floor. So you can play with each of them and see how they feel. But remember, the more you put pressure on the left leg, the more the pressure comes down on that right hip. So if you've got a dodgy hip, don't put extra pressure on it. Move the knee out a little bit more to the armpit to open the hip out on this side. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready, drop the long leg if it's up. And bring that opposite hand to the outside of that knee, bringing it across your body. Just to where you feel a sensation in the glute. Now, I feel instant heat. I don't know what you feel, but maybe just examine yourself and see what it feels like. So you're looking for a sensation of a stretch. You're not looking for a destination of where that knee goes or anything like that. Just wait till you get that sensation of a stretch and leave it there. Inhaling and exhaling. Coming back into midline, we're going to drop that foot to the floor and we're going to open the knee out into a supine tree pose. So we're going to breathe through this and we're looking for a little bit of maybe unclenching of that buttock. It's going to want to clench to really, stop opening of the sacrum. So we're just going to relax into it. Breathe a couple of rounds of breath. Extra pressure, you can put your hand on the inside thigh if you're looking for that pressure. Otherwise, if it's a tricky enough position, don't push it any further. Inhaling and exhaling. See if you can get a little bit of release of that buttock. Then when you're ready, we're going to bring it back into midline. We're going to lift this leg up to the ceiling. So we're looking for a stretch on the hamstrings. Now there's no need to go full on straight and there's no need to yank your leg all the way up towards you. All of those options are there, but protect your knee, protect your sacrum, and look after what we're supposed to be doing here, which is our hamstring. That's all we're looking for, is a stretch on the hamstring. Inhaling and exhaling as we stretch that hamstring. I like to pull it towards me a little bit because I've got quite loose hamstrings. If you've got very tight hamstrings, like if you do a lot of walking or a lot of running or a lot of moving around, sometimes hamstrings can be very taut. Whatever feels good for you, looking for a little stretch. Inhaling and exhaling. And then when you're ready, release. Bringing that foot to the floor. And again, leave it there if you want that soft practice on the other side, or else straighten the leg out if you want a deeper practice. Interlock the fingers around the shin, pressing it nice and deep in towards you, compressing that hip a little bit. Foot is flexed. Wherever you want, inch off the floor or straight down or leg bent on the opposite side. Breathing in, breathing out. When you're ready, bring the knee out towards the armpit a little bit. We're externally rotating that hip a little bit more, so it might feel like too much pressure. You might need to bring it back in slightly, or you might need to lower the leg slightly. Adjust to how it suits you. Inhaling and exhaling. Check in with your jaw that you're not clenching. Back into midline. Bringing the opposite hand to the outside of that knee. The long leg is now on the floor. And bring it across. Checking in with the hip and the glute. Looking for a lovely sensation. Inhaling and exhaling. Foot is still flexed. We want to work the muscle. We don't want to yank the bones. Breathing in, breathing out. Coming back into midline, drop the foot. Allow the bent knee now to come out to the outside. Wherever it'll go, it'll go. Breathing in and breathing out. There's no proper destination. It's just a case of we're stretching open here around the hip. And we're trying not to clench. Just to allow a little bit of relaxation through it. So you're telling your brain that it's okay, I've got this covered. Your brain is telling your buttock to clench because to protect your back, but you're just kind of maybe overriding that. And you're saying, actually, no, I want a little stretch right now. Allow it to relax a little with your breath. And then when you're ready, bring it back to midline and bring the foot up. Again, same rules apply. We don't want to overstretch. And you're looking for the ball of the foot particularly to be up towards the ceiling rather than the toe, the pinky toe. We're looking for the ball of the big toe to be towards the ceiling and the foot flex. So you're looking for that lovely stretch on the hamstring in whatever way your leg is. Keep a little bend though, just to protect your back. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready, then release. Bringing both knees in, and we're just going to start a little circle. Start a little gentle flexion of the back as the knees come towards you. And as the knees move out towards the side, you're on the hip. See how that feels like? The knees move away. You're arching your back slightly. And then as your knees move to your left, you're on the left hip. Rolling around, just seeing how you feel. Allowing the circle to get slightly bigger, maybe balancing on the joints if you feel that you have it within you. If it's tender, perhaps not. Keep the circle small. Change direction. Keep the feet flexed as well, because we still want to keep a little bit of muscle movement, muscle engagement, I should say. Back to midline, and this time we're going to keep our hands on our knees, but we're going to move our knees in opposite directions to each other. So little gentle circles, nice and controlled. So we gently move the hips in opposite ways to each other, not looking for sudden open movements. We just want nice and controlled. Change direction and just check in with your head and neck, that you're nice and relaxed, your jaw's relaxed, you're still breathing. And then when you're ready, feet on the floor. So we're going to roll onto our right side. And as we roll onto our right side, use your left hand to push yourself up and bring yourself onto your left forearm. Your knees are bent. One knee is on top of the other, ankle on top of ankle. You're in a sort of a, not quite 90 degrees, you're like a diagonal. And you're just making sure you're on that hip on the floor. Now, if it's too uncomfortable to lie directly on the hip on the floor, just put a padded blanket underneath your hip. Okay, shoulder has to be over that elbow. Okay, you're stacking the joints. And first of all, we're going to go into a clamshell, nice gentle clamshell. So we're opening on the inhale, and as we exhale, we're closing down the upper leg. We want to keep the bottom leg from moving. So if you find the bottom leg is moving with the top leg, then you're moving the top leg too far. So nice little bit of tension in the tummy. Make sure that you have engagement in your core as you inhale and exhale, using it nice and gentle without yanking, no yanking movements. up and down. The next time we do it, we're going to just lift the ankles ever so slightly. So we have the ankles off the floor, so we can't use our ankles now on the floor to push. So we are pushing the top foot to the bottom foot, but the bottom foot is not on the floor. And we're opening and closing in our clamshell again. So our hip is slightly higher. So if you find that it's too much, go back to the original clamshell. This is just an added extra. Opening, and when you're ready then, closing and dropping the feet to the floor. So we're going to begin our forearm side plank. So we're going to use a nice stacking there to really help to engage, push up. So there's a lot of work here on the bones, okay, a lot of work. Keep the tummy engaged. We're going to have our legs nice and bent for the first one, first round of 2, and then we're going to see if you need to put any extra challenge for the next round of 2. Inhale to prepare and exhale like you're pushing the ceiling away. Push up, lift up the hips. Inhale as you lower but not quite to the floor. Exhale, push up. And inhale and relax. So see if this was a challenge for you already, or see if you want to lengthen the legs out. Again, you're on that hip. You're not lying back off the hip. On the hip. If it's somewhere in the middle, you don't think you're ready for this one, you can bend the bottom leg so the knees are still stacked. Inhale, exhale, push up. Inhale, lower but not quite. Exhale, push up. Inhale, lower and relax. Bending those knees, and we're going to push ourselves up into mermaid pose. So heretofore, we've been doing mermaid with our knees quite close together. If you'd like a little bit of a stronger, not so much stronger, but a little bit wider on the base, you can bring the leg a little bit behind you, the top leg, so that the foot on the bottom is against the thigh of the other leg. So that's slightly different variation. It's actually the more nearer to the real mermaid pose rather than what we were doing. But please, if you feel that that's too much, keep your knees together. Okay, so either way, what you're doing is a twist, and we don't want to, if you find the twist hard enough, don't exacerbate the twist. Okay, nice, strong, long spine. Keep this arm in to mimic the spine. Inhale, and exhale, we're going to look over the shoulder away from the feet. Use that eyeball to really squeeze to look behind you. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, look over that shoulder away from the feet. Inhale, back to center. And counter pose the other way. Exhale, look over the opposite shoulder. Squeeze the eyeball and inhale back to center. Well done. So we're going to do a little in Dandasana. Dandasana is where our legs are right in front of us. So we want to keep our feet flexed, but there's no need to have your legs, your knees flat on the floor. You can put your blanket or you can put your block underneath your knees if you need to protect your knees. If your knees are anyway funny at all, protect your knees, okay? Because there's no going back on knees. You need to look after them. Pull back on the bum. Allow yourself nice tall back. Inhale as we bring our arms up. And exhale, we're just going to reach as if we're offering a tray of goods to someone in front. So you're just straight back and offering the tray. Use your tummy now and bring yourself all the way back up again. Exhale, offer the tray again. So that's what I'm saying about keeping the straight back. You'd never bend your back really if you had something in your hands, because you wouldn't be able to. And then pretend you have something in your hands, in other words. And then all the way back up. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, we're taking out the block. Get rid of it there for a second. And we're going to do the same on the other side, but we're going to do it in reverse. So we're going to do the mermaid now on this side and then work our way back through the clams and into this side. So bring your legs to the opposite side they were before. And remember, you can bring knees on top of each other like we did earlier or heretofore, or you can bring the top leg a little bit further back. Remember that long arm to mimic the spine, nice and strong and straight. Inhale. Exhale, look over the shoulder on the opposite side to the feet. Squeeze the eyeball. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, look over that shoulder. Inhale, back to center. This time the other way.
Exhale, look over the shoulder towards the feet.
And inhale back to center. Nice. Okay, so we're going to come down onto our forearm, keeping our our knees stacked. You're on your hip. Again, if you need to pad the hip, pad the hip. Don't sort of say, oh, well, I would need to rush along because she's going to move too quickly and I won't be ready. You know what's going to happen. So take your time to do the things you need to do and use the props you need to use. Otherwise, you've no longevity with this, and you need to sort of always have your props handy that suit you and that make this achievable for you. Otherwise, it's we're kind of wasting time. We need to do whatever it suits you. Shoulder has to be over elbow though. So there's some things that have to work and have to work right. There's other things you can use props to help. Ankle over ankle. Your legs not quite 90 degrees like that. You just want them a little bit on the diagonal. Inhale as we open up the top clamshell and exhale as we lower. Remember, the bottom leg needs to not move. Inhale up and exhale lower. Even look at your bottom leg and see, does it incline to kind of move with it? And each leg, when you do each side, is going to be different to the other. You're going to have much better movement on one side perhaps than the other. So we're looking to only go to the point where your bottom leg isn't moving. Last one. And then we're going to raise up the ankles. Again, a challenge to us. So if this is too much, go back to the last clamshell we just did. Inhale up and exhale lower. Inhale up, exhale lower. Inhale up and exhale lower. And allow the feet to come to the floor. We're going to start the forearm side plank. Again, we'll start in this position, see how we are. Each side is different. I know I'm weaker on this side, so I'll be taking it a little bit less than I would have been on the other side. So everyone has a different side that they're weaker on. Inhale to prepare yourself. Exhale, push up. Inhale, lower but not quite. Exhale, push up. And inhale, lower. Decide now, which are you going to do? Are you going to stay where you are? You're going to do the full side plank, forearm side plank, or are you going to do half? I'm deciding what I'm doing. You decide what you need to do. Inhale, exhale, push up. Inhale, exhale, lower, but not quite. Inhale, push up. And exhale, lower. Well done. So we're going to roll now onto our tummies. And we're going to just put one palms down, forehead on top of your hands. And we're just going to rest there for a moment and just see how your back is, because this is probably the most gentle back bend. You're slightly bent, you're in a slight back bend because your head is slightly raised. So this is where you check in with yourself and see how you're feeling. And if there's pinching even so much at this stage, then please don't progress to the next stage. Maybe perhaps stay here, or maybe just lie completely flat on the floor. So being able to breathe with your forehead down on your hands then, and being able to breathe fully is great, because that's what you're looking for. You don't want any pinching at this point. So we're going to start with a little bit of engagement, all being well. So we're going to pull up on the kneecaps, pull up on the belly button, and see how that feels. And then relax everything into the floor. Pull up on the kneecaps, pull up on the belly button, and then relax everything into the floor. We're going to try a different type of engagement. This time is where we're going to push our, excuse the terminology, but it's pretty sciencey, but it just sounds a bit rough. But anyway, push your pubic bone into the floor. And then release. See what that feels like. So we're pushing our pubic bone again into the floor. And then release. See how your back is with that. So the next time we do it, we're going to push our pubic bone into the floor, and we're going to just imagine that there's sort of a life raft underneath your legs, and it starts to gently inflate, and your legs are starting to float up. So as you push your pubic bone into the floor and your legs are starting to float up, just see how your lower back is and making sure it's okay. So it should feel like, instead of you yanking your legs up, it should feel like it's gently floating up, and then relax completely into the floor.
This time we're going to do it, but we're going to add a little bit extra. So if you found that that was a struggle, just stay with that one. Inhale, exhale, press the pubic bone into the floor. And as you are ready, imagine that your life raft is floating underneath you and it's lifting your head and it's lifting your chest as well. So gently as it comes, you feel that your whole back is arching, but it's only arching to a point that feels comfortable because you're being supported by this life raft that's gently inflating. And then as you lower to the floor, imagine all the air is coming out so that you're lowering nice and gently and slowly to the floor, that you're not just flinging yourself on the floor. Relax all of your body into the floor. Now we're going to go with the full arms as well. This time it might be easier to bring either your arms down by your side or your arms overhead, or you can keep your arms in that shape, wherever it is. It doesn't make any difference which way. It just depends on your shoulders and how you feel. Nice big inhale. Exhale, push the bone into the floor and start moving the inflated raft underneath you as you lift your arms, lift your chest, lift your head, lift your legs, and imagine that you're being pumped up from underneath. And then imagine it slowly, the air is being let out of the raft as you slowly deflate, coming to the floor. As you inhale, the air is letting out of the raft. And when you're ready, relax onto the floor, and we're going to turn our head in one direction. And if you feel with your cheek on the floor, if you feel that that's too strong on your neck, so I'm looking to my right. If you feel it's too strong, bring your left hand up and just put the finger slightly under the temple and bend at the left arm. And it just feels a little bit more supported for the neck rather than, you know, just lying flat on the floor with your neck bent. And just inhale and exhale and just soften the whole body. And we're going to do it one more time and then we'll move position. So on your next inhale, nice big inhale in, and exhale as you release your arm down, press your pubic bone into the floor and start to inflate that raft as you're exhaling up, feeling yourself floating, 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 legs, arms, chest, really pushing away with the inhale of, the inflation of the raft. And then you're starting to let the air out of the raft as you inhale to come back to the floor. And then you're going to turn your head in the opposite direction this time. Your cheek is on the floor. And if that's too much on your neck, you can bring your right arm this time, your fingers under the temple, and that just supports your head slightly and allows it, you know, just a little bit more comfortable of a twist of the neck. Inhaling and exhaling. And a little shimmy maybe of the hips just to kind of untense them. Just a little bit of a shimmy and have them nice and relaxed. Nice sigh, nice little exhale. And then bring the hand up and slowly then we're going to bring our arms underneath our shoulders. We're going to tuck our toes and we're going to just counterpose the back extension by coming into, I think perhaps we'll do hare pose rather than child's pose. So we're going to push ourselves up through half plank first, which is quite strong, and you know you've got a lot going on there with the shoulders over the wrists. Your fingers are really engaged in the floor, particularly the pincer grip. You're at a bit of an incline there with your neck, your head down to your knees. And then when you're ready, use your tummy. So breath first, exhale, and then use your tummy, squeeze your tummy to come all the way back. And you're going to just hinge back onto your tucked toes and feel the lovely relief in your back as you stretch your arms forward in this hare pose. Inhaling and exhaling. And then we're just going to bring our arms down and stack our fists one over each other and just rest your forehead on the stacked fists, like one potato, two potato, that kind of thing. And just take a moment, maybe set a sankalpa for you or for someone else, an intention. And don't be afraid to make it for yourself. It's very important you look after yourself. And release then. Stretching the arms out again, but not overly stretched. Like don't push them beyond, you know, normal.
And then just bring one hand over towards the other. And we're pushing from the hand back to the hip, rather than trying to lift the hip to reach the hand. We're pushing from the hand back to the hip. We're just allowing a little bit of pressure on that shoulder, inhaling and exhaling. If your toes are getting a bit, tired being tucked, untuck them. Back to center, and then we're doing the same on the opposite side. Breathing in, breathing out. Going back into midline and coming up into our box shape, knees on blanket if you need it. I'm going to take off my socks now because we are going to be coming into downward facing dog, and I wouldn't recommend downward facing dog with socks on, just because it can have, you can slip and it's not nice. And if you're a person who has the blocks for downward facing dog, then have them ready. Have them ready at the top end of your mat for your downward facing dog, and get yourself prepared. Okay, so first of all, we're in our cat-cow position, box shape. Looking down between our knees, make sure they're about hip width apart, and you can't really see your toes. Nice little space. Use your pincer grip again. Engage the tummy, and inhale as we sort of release from the tailbone, lower back, mid back, upper back, and head comes up. So looking for a nice little stretch down the sort of the neck down into the sternum. And then as you exhale, then you're just going to roll from that tailbone, the lower back, the mid back, the upper back. And you don't have to put the head down if you feel that that's a strain. You can keep the head where it is. You're just kind of pushing the shoulders up if that feels better for you. And then inhale, release the tailbone, the lower back, the mid back, the upper back, head comes up. And exhale again, we're going to roll from that shoulder, tailbone, lower back, mid back, upper back. And again, your head can either come down or your head can stay where it is, and you're just gently kind of pushing your whole body up towards the ceiling. And then release. So we're going to just do a little bit on the shoulders. So it's very hard to see this. It's a very small movement, okay? So we're going to bring the shoulder blades together. So you're dropping the torso as you try and bring the shoulder blades to touch, like rip a pencil between your two shoulder blades at the back, and then release. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and then release. Very, very difficult to see that on the screen, and release. And then we're going to do the opposite now. We're going to open the shoulder blades. Again, another difficult thing to release. Engage the tummy all the same. And then we're just going to push the ground away and push our body up, even though our hands are still on the ground. Push your body up as much as you can, and you'll feel the shoulder blades moving away. And then release and relax. Again, just going to push the shoulder blades and then relax. Push the shoulder blades and then relax. And there we go. That's our little bit of shoulder work there. So before we come into our downward facing dog, we'll just do a little bit of bird dog just to get a bit of balance. So bird dog, as you know, is where you have one leg. I'm going to take my left leg and stretch it out behind me. Maybe just give it a nice little pulse there just to stretch that leg, lifting it up. And as I always say, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to dump down onto the bent leg, the right leg, into the hip. So you want to lift off that, lift the belly, lift all the weight off that bent leg, and use the glute to engage that foot. Your foot is flexed. Make sure it's engaged. It should feel heavy, you know, that you really are working it. Then the opposite hand. So my right hand comes out, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale, lower that hand, lower that foot to the floor and back into your box shape. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now my right leg stretches out, pulse a little bit just to strengthen stretch the hamstring, then lifting it up. Again, check in with the dumped hip. Make sure that you're lifting off that hip and that you're engaging this glute. When you're ready, opposite hand comes out. A little bit of balance needed, particularly on the back of the foot that's pressed into the floor, in your fingers, everything. Your head is kind of neutral, looking down towards your mat. And when you're ready, dropping your hand and dropping your knee. We're going to tuck the toes and we're going to get ready to come up into downward facing dog. So whatever way you want to do downward facing dog, with or without blocks, whatever you feel, or use the hair pose again if you don't want to do downward facing dog. When you're ready, inhale first and exhale back into downward facing dog. Hands on blocks if you need them. Knees are bent and you're pushing your hips towards the back of the room. Pedaling out your feet maybe might be a nice little stretch. I'm just going to come out of it for a second just to take off my hoodie. Not that I'm that warm or anything, it's just awkward. Okay, I'm using the blocks just to show in case if you don't remember. And we're pedaling at the feet. We're going to try a little wide-legged down dog. So you just bring your feet to each side of the mat and push your hips to the back of the room again. Keep those knees nice and bent. And then we're going to try a little closed-legged down dog. Feet together, pushing to the back of the room. See how that feels like? A little bit harder on the legs. And then when you're ready, we're going to walk or step forward to our first standing forward fold. Okay, so using the blocks really helps because it helps you lift yourself to move forward. You can keep the blocks there. You don't need to move them if you're using blocks. You can keep them there all the time. You know, same with the blanket. As long as you don't step on the blanket when you're stepping back, so it doesn't slip. Keep the folded blanket in the middle of the mat. I think is a bit of a nice thing because every time if you don't know when a low lunge is going to happen or whatever. So we're going to do our first forward fold, and as I always say in forward fold, remember those really deep bent knees. We're not having it where we're sort of, you know, pulling out at the back. So I'm learning from my osteoporosis class that I've done that this kind of forward fold isn't really good for osteoporosis. Even with the bent knees does help, but it would probably be a little bit more where you'd want to keep your back straight at all times and not really round your back. But as you guys don't have osteoporosis, we can go ahead with it. So we're dropping the hands down, allowing your head nice and relaxed. And we might just do a little twist here where we're swirling from side to side. And we're straightening as we come around to that side of the leg. Again, another stretch on that hamstring. And when you're ready, back to midline. Inhale as you slide the hands up the shin. And we are straightening our back now, and we are like bookending ourselves. So nice straight leg, straight back, engage the tummy. Nice breath here in, and then exhale again, bending the knees and a deep forward fold. We're going to go really deep this time to come up. We've been on the floor for a while, so remember that blood pressure. It's difficult to come up. The head kind of goes a bit woozy sometimes for some people. So always go nice and deep and bring the head up over the heart. And when you're ready, and push yourself up. And that just kind of hopefully mitigates against any dizziness. So when our hands are all the way up, we're bringing our shoulder blades down towards each other so that we're not creaking the shoulders up to the neck. We want to keep the shoulders nice and relaxed. Inhale and exhale as we forward fold. Bending the knees. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. And we're going to use our right leg first to come back. So we're going to come back first of all into low lunge. We're not going to go straight back into plank just yet. So nice low lunge. Coming up, you can either keep the toe bent and tucked or even keep it flat. So it's up to your knee as to how you feel. It feels like for you, okay? So in your low lunge, we're going to pretend our hands are going through treacle. So we're going to engage our fists and we're going to do a little bit of strength, okay? So inhale as you bring your hands and really bring them up through treacle, like put some resistance into it, all the way up. Remember the shoulder blades shouldn't come up either. They should be nice and together. And then we're going to come into like a cactus arms lion's breath, but really slowly, as if it's really difficult through fudge. Like you're bringing down your arms. You see the way your muscles will be engaged. Again, we're going to bring our arms all the way up through the treacle. Really try and keep that tension, that flexion in your muscles. And then when you're ready, exhale. And release. Your whole body needs to kind of go, you know, after that. We're going to just a little quick stretch on the hip flexor, which is the one right in front of your hip. So we do this by heel toeing, heel toe, this one a little bit more forward. And just see how you feel with that little bit of a stretch on the hip flexor.
Just sit up kind of nice and tall on your back, seeing how you feel. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring both hands down onto the floor and get ourselves ready to come back into plank. Okay, so hands frame the feet, bring the front foot back to the front foot, hands nice and engaged into the floor, tuck toes, and we're going to push up into plank. And remember, if you want to do half plank instead of plank, this is box shape where I am at the moment. So there's no real engagement. So to come back into plank, you need to come forward on over a little bit, bring your knees back ever so slightly, and now you're in half plank. You want full plank, you lift the knees. You can see the sort of incline down from head down to feet. So there's nothing really better for you than a bit of plank for strengthening for the arms, the wrists, everything's going on. And when you're ready, we're going to lower to the floor. So we're going to lower our knees first. And I noticed in my physical class that people find it difficult to get from here down to the floor. They find it difficult to bend the elbows. So a nice way to do it, it's still work, like it's not an opt out or anything, is to come down on the forearm first, then down on the other forearm, and then lower to the floor. So if you feel that that's something that might suit you better, you can go with that. We're flattening out the feet. We're bringing the arms in under the shoulders, elbows tucked in. Big toes touching, pull up on the kneecaps, pull up on the belly button so that we're protecting our lower back. Inhale to prepare. As we exhale, we're going to push ourselves up into a little bit of a back bend again in our baby cobra. Inhale as we lower to the floor. And then we're going to use our blocks, if you want to push yourself back into downward facing dog. Pushing up through that half plank position and then back into downward facing dog. Knees are bent exactly the way we did before, pushing your hips to the back of the room. Feel the nice strong stretch on the back. So my right leg went back first, so my right leg's going to come forward first. Before we bring the back leg up, we're going to do the low lunge on this side, okay? So we're going to come up into our low lunge position. The back foot can be tucked or flat. It doesn't make any difference. You just check on your knee, see what feels better for you. When you're ready, we're going to do exactly the same again with the fists, okay? Inhale as we come through our treacle. As we push through the treacle, and then exhale in cactus arms lines breath. Inhale, push through the treacle. Engage all the muscles, including your tummy, everything as you push all the way up, keep the shoulder blades down. And exhale back into your cactus arms lines breath. Inhale back up. Pushing. And relax. Whew. And we're bringing the front leg forward. Again, we're looking for that little on the hip. Hands either on your waist or on your thigh. Looking for a nice little stretch on that hip flexor on the left leg. When you're ready, bringing your hands to the floor or to the blocks. We're bringing the back foot to the front foot. Lift up the knee. Back foot to front foot. Inhale for that halfway lift, which is our long legs, straight back. And exhale as we bend your knees and forward fold. Bending nice and deep. Again, we're going to come up. So we want to go nice and slowly. Push using our glutes and our legs, the big leg muscles, rather than yanking out of your back. Inhale up. Shoulder blades are touching towards each other again, reaching towards each other. And exhale, hands to heart center. Just standing in Tadasana now for just a few breaths, just to roll the shoulders back. Feet are engaged in the floor. And just see how you feel. Pull up on the Pada Bandhas, which means all of your feet are engaged in the floor. It's not just kind of standing, you know, that you've got an engagement in your toes, the outside edge of blade of your feet, your heels, and the ball of your feet and toes. Pull up on your kneecaps, bring ourselves all the way up, round to here to our Muladhara Bandha. So imagine that you're just kind of keeping your torso from falling out, that you've got a lift off the hips. And then your Uddiyana Bandha, imagine that you've got this kind of zip-like thing here coming from the bottom up to your belly button, keeping it all together. So there's engagement from the waist down at least, rolling the shoulders back. And then the shoulders and the head are then supported by this heavy pillar, support pillar underneath. Breathing in and breathing out. And when you're ready, relax the whole body. And we're going to come down onto the floor for a bit of bridge before we finish up. So coming down onto the floor. Come down whatever way suits you, but do you remember I always did the thing where I'd cross my arm and roll back one vertebrae at a time and really clench the tummy? So that's great if you're younger, but if you're older and you have any kind of back damage, apparently that's not the best. So we've been doing it so far and we've been okay. So I can't imagine that it would be any harm for us. But just to show you some other way of coming down that might be slightly different. Coming down onto the floor in whatever, come down onto your knee, come down onto your knee, come down onto your square shape. Okay, this is just an alternate way to come to the floor if you find that coming to the floor is hardship. And there's days when it definitely could be hardship. So we're going to just come onto our side like that, as if you're a mermaid. You're going to slide the hand down like this away from you, slide down and roll back. And then you have to shimmy yourself a little bit onto your mat again. And there you are, laying down. And we can get up the same way. There's days when our back's a bit sore and it becomes difficult to get to the floor and get up off the floor. So it's kind of nice to have an option. So when you're ready, my feet are on my blanket, so I can't have that. You have to have your feet directly on the floor, okay, on your mat, so that they're nicely gripped. You can keep a block if you have one handy, and if you don't worry about it. But if you have one handy, you can put it between your knees. I like to put it between my knees because I just make sure that I'm engaging everything in my torso. But like that, you can pretend the block is there and make sure there's some engagement. Hands on the floor. Inhale. Now, we've always inhaled and exhaled up. And that's good because we want to, so the exhale really should be on any of the effort that you're doing in your body. So we'll inhale first and exhale. We're just going to come up into bridge. No big deal, no peeling off the floor or anything like that. We're just going to come up into bridge and immediately check in with your feet. Make sure that your feet, proper sides of your feet are engaged in the floor. Roll your shoulders open a little bit, so shoulder blades together. And then we're just going to inhale back down onto the floor. We're going to exhale as we push up again. Just no big deal, just push up. And then as we're up in bridge, making sure everything's engaged, we're just going to put loads of pressure on the left foot. So imagine you're really squeezing that left foot into the floor. Suddenly feel the difference. There's a lot of work going on all of a sudden. Unclench the left foot. We're still up in bridge now. Now we're going to press the right foot into the floor. And then release the right foot. Then we're going to do the right foot and the left shoulder into the floor. Okay, so really push alternate sides. See what that feels like? Release. Now we're going to do the left foot and the right shoulder. You can't really see it on the video, but you're putting like extra pressure down and then release. And lastly, we're just going to imagine that we're trying to squeeze the two heels towards each other. So see that feels like in your hips, it feels really different. And when you're ready, then we're going to lower one vertebrae at a time. Nice and slowly with control as we release the lower tailbone and relax. Well done. Taking out the block. So we're going to bring the block in. We're a little bit of an inversion now. So again, we did bridge, which is an inversion, but we're going to do a supported bridge, which is where we put the block underneath our sacrum. So you can hold on to that if you like, if you feel more secure that it's not going to slip out. Come into another inversion where we bring our legs up. I remember I said before, there is no rule here. Like, it's meant to be that you're winding down. Now, this isn't a time for challenge. So if it feels uncomfortable to have your legs straight, have them bent. If it feels uncomfortable to have them in the air straight, like just rigid, move them around in whatever way you like. You're in the comfort of your own home. Nobody's looking. You can point and flex your feet. You can just have them randomly moving. And you can see what that feels like. and just enjoy a feeling of pleasure. It should be pleasure. It should not be any discomfort. You're switching off your fight or flight now, and you're coming into this rest and digest period of the session. And this is very important time to allow the muscles that have been working and stretching to completely disengage and to relax. Otherwise, they don't benefit from any of the stretching you did whatsoever. Just like breathing in and breathing out, there's no point in having one without the other. It's the same. Stera and sukha, strength and sweetness. They have to coexist. And that's the whole essence of yoga. Otherwise, it's pure exercise without the relax. Breathing just nice, and perhaps forgetting about the Ujjayi breath, perhaps just nice and unconscious breathing. And slowly then we'll lower one foot to the floor, lower the second foot to the floor. And again, this is an optional part of it. You can go straight to Shavasana if you like, or if you want a little bit more of a slight stretch of the abdomen, you can stretch out the one leg over that. You're stretching that hip flexor a little bit again. And if you feel comfortable, you can do the two legs. If not, just change legs. Feel that abdomen stretch, a little bit of space going in there for the organs to kind of reassemble and come back into position while you stand, and all the gravity takes pressure down onto them again. But you're just allowing some space, and your back is having a nice little extension. Check in with your jaw that you're not clenching anything and that you're nice and relaxed. And in your own time, then you're going to come into Shavasana. So you can stay on the block for as long as you like, or take it out, or whatever suits you in your class. It's your it's in your control. Shavasana. Making sure you put on your layers, that you're not getting cold. And back to where you were at the very beginning, hopefully, where you're nice and soft through your mouth, through your forehead. You've got room for your neck. Your shoulders are nice and relaxed. Down into your hips, that your hips are not squeezing, that you're not tight, that they're nice and gentle. And loll your feet around, loll your hands around, just feeling yourself relax and melt into the floor. And this is why if you're cold, it's very difficult to relax. So make sure you've got your layers on. So namaste, everybody, and well done. Thank you for joining me today. Have a lovely day and a lovely week. See you soon.